everyone, so today I'm going to read you chapters 7 and 8 of the Further Adventures of the Robber Hotzenplotz. Home Sweet Home. The Robber Hotzenplotz felt happy all through to the very tips of his whiskers. In the first place, he was now a free man again, which of course was the main thing, and in the second place, he now owned a complete policeman's uniform, which was going to be very useful to him in his work. In the third place, he had to admit that Kasper's grandmother was a very good cook. Her sausages and sauerkraut had tasted wonderful. "If I get back to the cave all right, I'll have nothing to complain about," he thought. Chief Inspector Dimplemose's uniform fitted as if it had been made for him. He was carrying his own things tied up in a bundle under his left arm, and he held the stolen sword in his right hand. He was using it as a walking stick. As he strolled through the woods, he whistled his own robber's song, loud and not always in tune. "A robber's life is a merry life, under the greenwood tree, with a pistol full of pepper and a good sharp knife. Who cares where the police may be? With a pistol full of pepper and a good sharp knife. Who cares where the police may be?" He was wandering along, taking his time, and so it was nearly an hour and a half before he got home. As he had expected, the mouth of his cave was boarded up. There was a handwritten notice on the doorpost. It said, "Robber's Cave, officially boarded up by the police. Unauthorised removal of the boards strictly prohibited. Unboarders will be prosecuted. District Officer Dimplemoser, Chief Inspector." Hotzenplotz rubbed his hands, beaming. "Ha ha ha! Everything's fine so far. Let's see if my luck still holds." Usually, robbers have other caves where they can move if their dens are discovered, but not the Robber Hotzenplotz. "Why bother with another cave?" he had asked himself. "The old cave will do just as well. All it needs is another entrance, a secret one. It'll be quite simple if I work it cleverly enough. No doubt about it." After he had made sure no one was spying on him, he ran to an oak tree standing by itself some 20 paces from the old entrance to the cave. It was hollow inside. He climbed into the opening and pushed aside the leaves and pieces of bark that covered the ground. A trapdoor made of oak planks was revealed. Hotzenplotz took a key out of a crevice in the tree trunk. No one would ever have guessed it was there, and opened the trapdoor, which was the way into a narrow underground passage. The passage was exactly 20 paces long. Then he came to a partition made of boards. Hotzenplotz bent down, pressed the secret knob, and pushed the partition aside. Smiling broadly, he marched into his den. "Home, sweet home!" he cried. "If I know the police, they'll be looking for me all over the place, everywhere but here. After all, my cave's been officially boarded up." He tossed his bundle of clothes into a corner and looked around the cave. All his drawers and closets had been opened, and the contents were lying all over the floor. Everything was jumbled up. Underwear and cooking utensils, his dressing gown, his boot jack, a box of brilliantine for his moustache, his shoe cleaning things, matches, the poker and tongs, a pastry board, a pair of braces, several packets of snuff, a toasting fork, his brandy bottle, and hundreds of other things. "Drat that Dimplemoser!" said Hotzenplotz angrily. "I can understand they'd had to search my den, but he might have least have put everything back where it came from. Now, let me see what's missing." It turned out that several of his things were missing. 7 knives, a pistol loaded with pepper, a telescope, a sword, a barrel of gunpowder, and a barrel of pepper. Mr. Dimplemoser had confiscated them and taken them away when he searched the cave. But the Robber Hotzenplotz was not a bit worried. He had provided for just such emergencies. He pulled his bed away from the wall and opened a hidden hole in the floor. "Nothing like a secret cellar for keeping ammunition," he said, lying down on his stomach and putting his arm into the hole. Inside it, there were 3 new knives for each of the 7 that had been confiscated, together with all the other equipment a robber needs for his work. He reached in and brought out another pistol loaded with pepper. "That will do for now," he said to himself. "I'll get the rest out later when I've tidied up the place a bit." Tidying up was a job he really hated to do. "Oh, I feel like a housemaid," he said crossly, "but I'll get even with them as sure as my name's the Robber Hotzenplotz. Not only Dimplemoser, but Kasperl and Seppel most of all. They'll soon find they have to pay for getting me put in jail. Tomorrow I'll lie in wait, and if I get them, I'll make mincemeat of the 2 of them. Mincemeat, that's what! Ha 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 ha!" What a wicked robber. And there, look, there's his messy cave. A message in a bottle. Next morning, Hotzenplotz set off to catch Kasperl and Seppel. He was still wearing his policeman's uniform, but now he had 7 knives and a pistol full of pepper stuck in his belt. He also had his telescope and some good strong rope. He took up his position behind the bushes of broom at the edge of the wood. "I'll wait here until they come," he told himself. "They're sure to come by sometime. I can tell by the prickling in my nose, and my nose has never been mistaken yet." He took a look at the road through his telescope. There was not a soul in sight. The sun was shining down on Hotzenplotz's head. A fly was buzzing around his helmet. He took a pinch of snuff from time to time, so as not to fall asleep by mistake. "Amazing how 14 days in the fire station could get a man out of condition," he muttered. "Before that, I could lie and wait for hours and never feel the least bit sleepy." Suddenly, he had a shock. 2 familiar figures were coming along the road. One of them, as he could see quite distinctly through his telescope, wore Kasperl's red cap, and the other wore Seppel's green hat. All of a sudden, the Robber Hotzenplotz was wide awake. "Didn't I say they were sure to come by?" he said to himself. "Looks as if they've been fishing. Seppel has a fishing rod over his shoulder, and Kasperl has a net. Why, there's something in the net too. It seems to be something heavy. Maybe a bottle. Goodness me, it is a bottle. I can see it quite plainly now. I wonder if there's anything nice to drink in it." Hotzenplotz could feel his mouth begin to water. However, he kept his head and got ready to spring. He waited until Kasperl and Seppel were only a few feet away. Then he jumped out of the bushes, waving his pistol full of pepper. "Hands up or I fire!" Kasperl and Seppel dropped their fishing rod and net and raised their hands. Suddenly, Kasperl began to laugh. "Fancy a policeman giving us a fright like that! What's all this about?" Hotzenplotz shoved the pistol full of pepper under his nose. "Take a look at my face. Never mind the helmet and the red collar. Laughing on the wrong side of your mouth now, huh?" Kasperl screwed up his eyes, and Seppel's teeth began to chatter. They had rehearsed this all before. Can it be you?" stammered Kasperl. "It's me, all right. Ha ha ha! Did you have a nice surprise?" Hotzenplotz pointed the barrel of his gun at the bottle in Kasperl's net. "Where did he get that?" Fished it out of the stream. It's a Well, go on, hand it over. Let's see what's inside." Hotzenplotz made them give him the bottle. He examined it closely, and then shaking his head, he said, "If you ask me, it's sealed up, and I see there's a label on it." The label had writing in big, rather ornate letters. It said, "By bottle post, important. To the police, strictly forbidden to be opened by anyone else." Hotzenplotz grinned and rubbed his chin. "I like forbidden fruit best of all. Of course I'm going to open this bottle." "Oh no, you mustn't," cried Kasperl. "You're not a policeman." Hotzenplotz roared with laughter. "Ha ha! Trying to give me orders, huh? See how fast I can do it." And he drew his sword and chopped the bottle in half. A roll of paper fell out. He bent down, picked it up, glanced over it, and realised that he would have to act with the utmost caution. "Turn around!" he barked at Casper and Seppel. "Close your eyes! Put your hands over your ears!" Then he began to read the message that had been in the bottle. He did not know, of course, that it was Grandmother who had written the message on Casper's instructions. Dear Mr. Dimplemoser, on my deathbed, I am entrusting a secret to this bottle. All the riches I have accumulated in the course of my long life are buried under the floor of the town fire station. Please be kind enough to take them into the safekeeping of the police and give the money to the poor, or I shall never lie quiet in my grave. A repentant sinner who wishes to remain anonymous. N.B. This is an enchanted treasure. It has to be dug up at the full moon or everything will go wrong. Hotzenplotz rubbed his eyes and tweaked his own nose. No, he wasn't dreaming. The news that there was buried treasure in the fire station made him forget everything else for a while. Casper and Seppel seized their chance to run away. Hotzenplotz noticed, just a few minutes too late. "Stop!" he shouted. "Wait a minute, will you? Stop!" But they were out of range of his pistol full of pepper, and he was not going to run after them. Why should he? He decided Casper and Seppel could go and be hanged, for all he cared. At the moment, he had more important things on his mind. "I wonder what that message says is true," he thought. Well, why not? After all, the bottle had been sealed up. He rolled up the message and put it in his pocket. "I'll see about this buried treasure business," he promised himself. "With the key of the fire station to help me, it'll be easy. What's more, it's the full moon this very night. Now that's a lucky thing." He realised he would have to plan very, very carefully. He would give himself plenty of time and investigate all around the fire station before he ventured in. "Better safe than sorry," he told himself. "If my luck is in, I'll be a rich man this time tomorrow. I'll be able to retire from robbery. I do hope nothing goes wrong." And we shall have to find out if anything goes wrong next time. Bye, everyone.